empire. And we're seeing it nowadays with the Catholic Church unraveling with pedophilia, sexual abuse of nuns. You know, I mean, if you have an organization that's built on a corrupt core, how can it do anything as it projects itself into the future except become more corrupt?
Well, unfortunately, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so that's been my journey into it. It's been a reaction against Orthodox Christianity and an openness to embracing other ways of being.
More away from organized religion to more spiritual. It's more expansive.
Well, more mystic. The mystic
more
lineage.
Mystical, yeah.
The mystic lineage that's running in parallel to Christianity or to Orthodox Christianity.
Yeah, because there's unfortunately, I would think most organizations, whatever their ilk, whether it's religious or political of nature or whatever, they all have their closets, their dark secrets that they keep hidden, and it's not just the organized Christianity, but right across the board. But what I think this sort of begs the question, it might be helpful to gain an operational definition for, being you, being yourself, like what that is, because, I think that for some people they might feel, well, who I am is just a farmer. And who I am is just a husband or a wife or what mother or whatever that is, But in the world, that's one of the roles that being yourself, being who you are, is. Yes, that's one role. That's one cog in the wheel. But it's not who your authentic self is. And so, what is it that drives us? Now, it's not everyone, but there's a burning desire, or there's a longing, there's something that's painful almost, that keeps us moving forward, asking questions, wanting to know the truth, but not just intellectually, but experiencing it, and that's what drove you, I would suspect, to travel and to ask questions and to study and so forth. And the same thing, for me as well, but not everyone has, it seems, that longing, that pain of separation, that keeps them looking for what is greater, what is larger, what is, the truth, let's say. Don't you agree?
I do, to a point, and I think, one of the things that drew me into learning more about Kabbalah was when I read the statement by them that we're pushed forward on the path of pain until the point in our heart awakens and we're drawn by the light. And when I started looking back in my life, I realized how many decisions and changes I'd made in my life because of the painful experiences that preceded them, like you guys talked about, the dark night of the soul. And that's what, the Kabbalists have been talking about, the same thing. We're pushed forward and forced to make changes because of the painful experiences that we're having. But then at some point, we wake up and we go, okay, I don't have to be in a state of pain all the time. I can make different choices and exist in a more divine way of being in the world. So I think that's for me, that's where the change came.
Yeah, it does sound a bit simplistic what you just said, though, because as I see it, what you're trying to do is to change your thinking to have a different physical experience. Often, I find that the physical experiences come from deep-seated conditionings that are not originating from just mind and thought. For instance, someone who's got an addiction, they might say, okay, I'm gonna look at life differently now, and I will just blah blah blah, and yet they find themselves in the next minute grabbing another bottle of something or another drug or whatever, and it's almost as though it controls them. So just changing the thinking might be a good place to start. But there's a lot more at stake here than just, having like Tony Robbins. Look at Tony Robbins and where he has this whole idea that, okay, you can manifest your own reality and blah, blah, and so he has 1,000 people coming out paying however much, per person. And then what happens? 5% of the people are successful. 95% are probably going to fail. And then they'll just say, well, I didn't, really put to practice what he taught. Or they never would have made a change by using those practices because they have other lessons to learn from their challenges, from their difficulties. And the 5% that were successful, they would have been successful with or without his courses. There's so much more going on than what just meets the eye. And so just to try to move something around by changing our thoughts, it's a start, but it's not the whole picture.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not talking about thoughts at all. The Kabbalah doesn't deal with anything material. And so when they're talking about being pushed forward on the path of pain, that's your deepest spiritual pain, your actual disconnection from source, and that's where our level of contracted awareness, that we have the ability to reconnect with divine awareness, but we don't even know it exists. How can we beat ourselves up for not knowing what we didn't know before we learned it is what a lot of people say. And so, their spirit, this pain that they talk about, and like I say, Kabbalah doesn't talk about anything in the material world. It's all about these levels of divine light. So as we sensitize ourselves to the various levels of divine light, then our experience, even the physicists nowadays say that human beings are capable of perceiving 1/30,000th of the light spectrum. So that's all we're seeing 1/30,000th of what actually is existing around us, and we're calling that reality. And I think to go back to the mystics, throughout history, that's what they've brought our attention back to, where religion said, well, the earth is the center of the cosmos. The mystics went against that at great risk to their lives as well, to say, well, let me go deeper into this. And like Pythagoras said, mathematics and numbers are our way of connecting to divinity. And we do that through, in his world, music. And that was one of his main studies, was learning and developing the Western style of music based on numerical ratios that he created, or didn't create, he discovered in his tetractys, that all of the musical ratios are contained in these 10 points in the tetractys. And so, this is stuff that I wish I'd have learned this stuff in school, because I would have realized, well, there's a lot more. Like you're saying, the physical world is what we learn about in school. Pythagoras and the mystics teach us about the energetic nature of our being, and again, to trust the master within, not to trust the Tony Robbins or the popes or the teachers or the prime ministers or the president, but to actually learn to trust our own intuition about what feels good and what feels bad, and what's good for ourselves and what's good for humanity. And we can only do that, according to Pythagoras, again, through an intimate connection with the natural world.
Yeah, no, I agree. But and again, not to disparage, Tony Robbins specifically, just that there are a lot of teachings out there that try to keep us engaged in the doing of things in the world, which only distracts us from allowing us to go inside and to have that deeper inner connection and realization of the infinite truths, whether you want to call it the Akashic Records or whatever, that we all have access to. But we can't get there if we're constantly on our cell phones and iPods and doing whatever, watching TV and all these other things. So we will be having a short commercial break coming up. If you wish to contact Mark Boiko, his email is mboiko2@gmail.com, and his YouTube channel is Traveler with 2 L's, Traveler891, and I can be reached at sdk@telus.net. Thank you, and see you after the break.
Male or female, we all age and would love to look and feel our best. There are ways to sharpen our brains and smooth our skin. Nerium International, through True Botanicals' real science and proven results, have created a holistic line of anti-aging products for skin, body, and mind, holistically reversing and preventing the aging process. For a free sample, go to wellness.nerium.com and call and text Stephen at 1-604-603-5477.
What if everything that you've been taught about who you are and what life is has been untrue? Join Deborah Laval, host of Living in Quantum Love, where she'll explore and dissect the limiting beliefs and wrong understandings that have only served to keep us not only separate from one another, but from our own selves. Living in Quantum Love can be heard every Thursday at 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Join Deborah and take a leap to freedom.
If the challenges of these times we're in are weighing on you and you feel disillusioned and not supported, even after years of personal growth work and spiritual practices, then working privately with spiritual coach Deborah Laval will give you the insights, perspectives, and tools to navigate through the challenges. So to become more grounded in the love that you already are, write to Deborah at info@deboralaval.com. Are you suffering with pain? Do you have concerns about your bones? Or are you trying to slow down the aging process? Then listen up. Dr. Oz said this is the future of medicine. Pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. To find out more about a natural way to help the body heal itself, contact JP at 604-603-5477 or go to Deborah Laval's homepage and click on the link to his website.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Deborah Laval on Dream Vision 7 Radio, and you're listening to Living in Quantum Love. And today's topic is the importance of being you. And my guests today are Mark Boiko and J.P. Stevens. So, hello, everyone, and welcome back.
Hi.
Happen to have you guys here.
Hey there.
So, how can we each pull back the veil of illusion and reveal our true nature that exists in harmony with nature and each other? Like, just whatever comes up.
Well, I think before our break, Deborah, I was just going to finish one little thought there that about, the Pythagorean connection to the natural world, and, well, mostly through that time. And it's only been in modern times that we've lost that connection. But with regards to anger was one of the biggest lessons in my life about how anger is something that we create inside ourselves and project out into the world. That, yes, other people can make us or can create a situation that we get angry about, but then we want to blame that person for this anger, and that's where a lot of aggression and conflict come into play in our human world. Absolutely. So the Pythagoreans, what they would do is whenever they'd get angry, their obligation, as they were taught, was to go and sit quietly in nature until they reabsorb that anger and then go back and deal with the situation that they had gotten angry about in the first place. So they were always working from this place of peace and a place of integrity towards themselves and each other. And that's something that was instilled as part of their school. You couldn't even get into a Pythagorean school unless you had some of those qualities that he saw in you, integrity and studiousness and intelligence. And so he would then take them into the school. And in a Pythagorean school, they weren't even allowed to speak for the first 2 years. They were allowed to listen. And then ultimately they could interact with the master more. But so that's the Pythagorean take. And he That's a philosophy that was in competition, actually, at one point with Christianity. Before the Romans actually appropriated Christianity, there was a man named Apollonius of Tyana that was an itinerant miracle worker traveling around in the same region. They think that he and Christ probably met at one point.